Uh, Hello everybody. Here is another video of Jeffrey, right? And if you've already seen my channel, then you know who I am, I would say. So in this video, I was like kind of contemplating about what I wanted to talk about today. And I'll upload like videos, not regularly or something. I'll just upload them whenever I want to, I would say. But I was thinking about to talk about certain topics, but I would say today I was thinking I'm just gonna talk about my past relationships that I had, and there's a lot of them, to be fair. So I don't know how long this video is going to be, and I also, like I said, I also had other topics in mind, but I kind of want to talk about this today, I would say. And there's a reason for that, and I don't know if I'm going to say that in this video as well, but the reason why is simply because I don't know if that's a good idea to do so, to be fair. Because it gave me a really bad feeling, though. It was the beginning of this year, like at New Year's Eve. I experienced something that is really annoying. I don't like it. So maybe I'll tell it at the end of the video. So where should I begin? I mean, I'll just start when I was like a kid, okay? When I was like a little kid, because back then I remember the friend of my sister. She was always like just playing around with me, in a funny way, like, oh, you're a cutie, this and that. I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I already had, like, I was actually, if you can call it dating, right? It's like when you have like two little kids and they like each other, and it's like all these cutesy lootsy, what's it called when they are like together, right? And it's all shy and all that stuff. You know how that goes, right, with little children. And I was 4 years old, and I met this girl, and she lived 2 streets away from me from here, and we had a relationship for like a day. It was like a day, and I will never forget it, because I just found it so funny back then already. So that's like kind of funny to me, that's why I'm telling you this, because it's just funny. So it always went that way for me when I encountered things in life that I didn't expect, because I wasn't really expecting that this would be a thing. Like, I had no idea that this would become a thing. So so during those times, I had some girls when I was like 6, 7 years old that might have liked me, but I don't think so, though. But that's maybe the case. But there was always one girl at my school that I always liked, and she was always one class after me. So it's like she was not a year older than me, maybe half a year older than me, I would say. But I always liked this girl, and I always liked her till the last school year, I would say. Back then I was like maybe 10, 11, I would say, that I always liked her. But eventually I met her one time. I remember I was like 6, 7 years old or whatever, and I met her at the playground, and I was like talking to her, right? It was like a school break, and I went talking to her, and she just completely ignored me, like I wasn't there. And till that day on, I kind of felt like more like, not like resentment or something like that. Like, I felt like, oh wow, well, I guess I'm not all that interesting then. And I always just let her be or whatever, but I always had this feeling of, well, that's kind of bad, you know, in that sense. So so I still liked her all that time, but then eventually that just fades away, right? It's just a thing. It fades, especially when you're a kid. You're not really focused on that, because love and relationship and stuff like that. I was a kid that liked to play video games, and I love to play with action figures and all that stuff, with my friends outside, playing hide and seek and all that stuff. That's what I always used to do. So relationships weren't really a thing for me, until I was like 10, 11, something like that. Or maybe, no, a little bit younger maybe. So let's say 9, 10 maybe. Because at the time, my best friend, which I always called my brother, because, well, technically they used to call me their brother, because I'm a little bit older than that friend of mine, and we were also at the same school, and he used to live right across me, and we were like brothers to one another. I always helped him because he always made trouble, and then I always stepped in and helped him out. Not because I'm a fighter or anything like that, but I was always concerned about his health or his condition or whatever, because he always made like fights with people. He always fought with people, and then I stepped in and tried to help him out. Kind of like Double Dragon, if you ever heard of that, right? There's like two guys and they fight side by side. That's I was the blonde guy, and the other one is like the one darker hair guy. That's what we used to be. I would say that actually I would say that's kind of what we were. And so he was always the womanizer. I would say he was always the guy that got all the girls, and I didn't. That was always a thing. And I experienced it one time with him when I told him there was like a girl that I really liked. I still remember her name. It's so long ago, and I still remember it. And I told him this, and then he took her away from me behind my back, and even tried to screw around with it behind my back, which I will never forget. That was something that kind of gave me to be careful for people, that you shouldn't be trusting everybody, even if you like really like some person or whatever. So it's not paranoia or anything like that, but just be aware, be aware of your surroundings. And I never liked it that he did that stuff, because I really liked that girl back then. And like I said, I was like 11 or 10 or something. But before that, I also had a girl that was, he had a niece at that time. He had a niece, and I really liked that girl too. And we managed to get together, but that was because of him too. But he did it more not because it was, because he just found it funny. I think that's what was going on, because I really liked her, and then over time, I saw like she was a girl that came over to his house every single, because like I said, it was his niece, but I only saw her at birthdays and stuff like that. So when his father was his father's birthday, his mother's birthday, his birthday, that was the only times that I saw her. Otherwise, I didn't see her, and so I really liked her always, and that's something I will never forget. It was I'm not gonna say their names though. I don't want to say that. I want to keep their names in front of me, I would say. I don't want to say it. And then, so that was a thing for a long time for me, which was really funny. But then, at the age of 11 and 12, that's when actual feelings started to happen. Like when I actually started to get more interested into girls and stuff like that. Because like I said, before that, I liked girls as well, but it wasn't that deep. It was more liking them rather than actual loving them, right? There's a difference between the two. And so I eventually I was like 12, and then at 13 I went to second school. So I don't know in English how that is called, because for us it's called basisschool, so it's like base school. That's where you go from the age of 4 till the age of 12, 13, and then after that you get in the next school. But I don't know if that's called high school or whatever. I don't know exactly how that is, so maybe you guys could tell me in the comments, because I don't know. But anyway, when I was 13 I went to a new school, and that was a school created for animals. Like it's so basically I wanted to become a doctor, so in order to go to that progression line, to go from that journey from normal school to like doctor wise, I had to do that school because of medicine. So you learn about plants. You learn like for example, you could learn the names, Latin names of plants. God, what is that other one that name called of that plant? Oh, maybe it will pop up soon. But anyway, we had to learn Latin names for plants and stuff like that. And you need to learn what they do, where they grow, blah blah. You learn how to farm with animals. You need to learn how they behave. You need to learn how to work with them and stuff like that. That's something you needed to do. And next to that, you had like your basis stuff. So you had like biology, chemistry. But I didn't really have that much chemistry back then, because there was stuff happening in the Netherlands at that time. So there were a lot of teacher shortings, I would say. There was shortage for teachers at that time. So I didn't really get chemistry in those times. There was like a thing that was happening in the whole country, and students were like standing outside and they were like protesting, like against it. I would say there's a name for that too. It was like protest and stuff like that, because they were telling, like, oh, schools should get more money so we can get more teachers so that we can better classes and stuff. That was like the time when I went to school, so I didn't really get chemistry all that much. We had chemistry and biology, and you had the Dutch language, of course, because you need to learn how to write everything correctly. We had English, but that was perfectly fine for me. I knew most of the English language already when I was about 10, 11, and I didn't learn it from anyone because my family didn't know English very well. I learned it myself from video games, movies, and stuff like that, books and blah blah blah. So that's how I used to learn it. And so when I was 13, there was like this girl at school, and she was a blonde girl. She had like blonde hair, but that was after the second year. Like I was like at the second year of that school, and I really liked this girl, but like I said, more like than actually having feelings. And the whole school knew. The whole school knew that I liked her. And eventually, everybody was playing around with it a little bit, making fun of it and jokes and stuff like that. But then over time, what happened after that was I eventually spoken to her, of course, and eventually she told everybody, including me, that she was not interested. So that was really a kick in the balls for me, because like I said, I didn't really, because I liked her. She wasn't super cute or anything in that sense. I just liked her somehow. I don't know how to explain it, and that's really strange. So that happened, and that went on for about 2 years. But this girl, I always had the feeling that she did like me, but she never wanted to admit to it, because she was always playing around with it and always pretending that she didn't care. And there was like this one time I was sitting in class in a certain classroom because I had detention. I had to stay there, but she was there too. She had the same problem, so she had to stay there too. And we stood next to each other like this, like a romantic movie, and we were looking each other in the eyes. And it was almost like a kissing scene. It was almost happening. And at the moment that was happening, somebody all of a sudden stood in front of the door and just broke the moment. I was so mad about that, I was like, maybe that could have been my only chance. And it was my only chance. And I still remember to this day, because I was so annoyed by that. It was crap, I had like a romantic Romeo and Juliet moment. And that got broken down, unfortunately, which that kind of sucks. So that went on for 2 years, I would say, 2-3 years. And then there was another girl that came on and at school, and she had like very long blonde hair from like left to right. No, not really blonde hair, it was more brunette, I would say, brownish brunette hair. I never dated a Latino or anything in that sense, or anyone that looks similar to it. It was more always just I would say white people, I guess that's my preference or something. I don't know. I don't really like. Yeah, I'm not really difficult with that stuff though. Like if it's a Latino, I like Latinos too. I just never counted one. I guess that's what's going on. Because in the Netherlands, you don't really have that many of like Latino girls and stuff like that, right? And it's more white, I would say, and some Asians, but it's not a lot. It's a very it's a minority here. It's more white people, I would say, for the most part. So that's also my preference, I would say. But yeah, I also don't really have a preference. I'm more falling for faces actually than everything surrounding it, and intelligence. Like I don't really like girls who are stupid. I don't know, because I can't have a conversation with people like that. No offense to anybody that's watching right now. It's just I don't really like I need to have an intelligent conversation. If I don't really have that, I get bored real quickly. I don't know if you recognize that, but that's what I have. And so that happened, and when I met this girl as well, that was something I was really annoyed by how that went, because I told somebody at school, and then 5 seconds later the whole school knew about it, because I was not super popular, but I was popular, but not super popular. Like everybody knew me, and I knew everybody as well, except for the new people that came at school, the new kids, I would say. I didn't know them yet. But overall, everybody knew who I was. And that was also because I didn't care about what people thought at that time. I was always going my own way. I didn't really give a poop what people thought about me, or if they didn't like me, I was like, okay, well then you don't like me, I don't care, right? So, but if people needed my help, I was always there to help them, even if they were complete strangers. That's what I like to do, to just help people, you know, like bullies, for example. When you encounter bullies, and I saw somebody being bullied, I would punch the crap out of them. I would. And then I would have got some trouble, but I was like, well, that other person is safe. So that was more important to me than the troubles that would happen to me, because I was back then in a sort of self-destructive mode at that time. I didn't really care what happened to me, because I was in a really bad headspace at that time. So I didn't really care if I got like beaten by 5 people. I would still fight them. If there were 11 people, I would still do it. I didn't care at that time, and I think that's how some, which I will come to later, how some girls might have liked me because of it, because I just didn't care. And at that time, I met this girl, right? I told you, right? This new one, and I remember the whole school knew about it, and they were all making fun of it and stuff like that. Not really like laughing me out in that sense. It was more of how do I say this? Like they found it funny that somebody that was like 2 years older liked a girl that's like 2 years younger than him. Let's say it that way. That's what it was, I think. And then eventually I was I remember I was standing at the lockers at the time, and I was like punching against the lockers like that, simply because I was like, you know, I need to put all the books and stuff in there. And so I stood there, and this girl that I liked, she passed me by, and she looked at me in a very angry way. So I looked at her back in a normal way, and all of a sudden she said, "Link it to me," which that means somebody that thinks he's all that. He thinks he's like an arrogant guy. He thinks he's all great. He thinks he's amazing. I think like a macho man, in that sense. But that's not who I am. Absolutely not. That, for some reason, that really hurt me. Like, for some reason, that was like a hit in the heart. I don't know how to explain it. It was really weird, because I'm absolutely not like that. Yeah, I didn't care at the time. That was true. But I was always nice to people. I have never had any problems with anybody. And yeah, that somehow really, that did hurt me a lot for some reason. So I was sitting in class, and I remember all I could think of was that word that she said. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And like I said, I was in a very self-destructive mode. So I was already in a dark mode, I would say. And so you could say I was depressed, I would say, like really, really badly. And so I remember I was in class, and I all of a sudden I just grabbed the table and I just threw it in the class, and while people were sitting there in the classroom as well. And I just walked out with tears in my eyes, simply because I was just annoyed. I was frustrated. Like, that's not who I am, and she had the wrong picture about me. And so I didn't went looking for anything like that at all. I never did that, because I was like, if she thinks that way, then she has the wrong thoughts about me, and if I might look her up, I might make it worse. So I never went after her. I knew exactly where she lived. She lived actually very close by to me as well, because the school that I was on, there were people all here in the region. So most people lived close by to where I am. And I happened to know where she lived, but I always had to. Sometimes I had to pass that street. Sometimes, so I was always scared that I saw her, because I was like, oh, maybe I'll see her, and I don't want that, because like I said, I don't want to spook her. Maybe she would think that I was running after her or something or whatever. So I was always afraid to see her, and I never saw her though. But I was always afraid of it. So that happened, and I remember during those times as well. There used to be a girl at school that I've been with in class for a few years, and then one year I had to be in another class with somebody, like with total different classmates, because I don't know how it's called in English, but it's when you cannot progress to the next class, and then you had to stay there for the next year. I don't know how that's called. It's not a dropout. Dropout is something else. I can't remember what it's called. But by the way, if you hear something in the background, I apologize. Somebody in my house is very sick, so you might actually hear some coughing sometimes in the background, and I apologize if it happens. But anyway, so because it's snowy outside, coldy outside. It's like right now it's 2 Celsius, if you know what that is. I don't know into Fahrenheit. I fortunately I don't know that out of the back of my head because I never use Fahrenheit, so I apologize. But it's 2 Celsius. But anyway. So it's freezing. It's almost freezing point. But anyway, so I eventually because I get a bit distracted by the stupid coughing. But anyway, so I was eventually I was standing at the locker again. There was like this one time I was standing at the locker, and there was a girl in my class. She all of a sudden stepped up to me, and so I was there and. All of a sudden she started talking to me, which she never did. Like, we never really had a conversation ever with each other. Even though we've been in class for like 3 years. No, like 2 years. And then I had the class of 2 other years. Because I've been in that school for 6 years. And then from like 12, 13 to 16, 17. That's how long I've been at that school. No, to 16, I would say. 16, something like that. And I had a dropout at that school. I was kicked off the school eventually because I had bad grades. Not because I'm stupid, but it's because like I said, my mind wasn't all there at that time. I was more focused on myself and my anger, like my anger issues that I had, than the school. I just didn't care at one point. Absolutely not. I just didn't care. So I also had many issues with my mother, with my sister, like arguments and all that stuff throughout the year. So, I mean, it wasn't really going well with me. But anyway, so I was standing there at the locker. And this girl came up to me, and she was like, "Well, hey Jeff, I gotta tell you something." And while she was telling me this, I was like, with the box, like throwing and doing stuff, because I was just totally not focused on her at all. And I was like, "Yeah, what is it?" And she says, "Well, there's somebody that I know that likes you a lot." And so she gave a name, and I will say the name this time, because otherwise it gets confusing. So her name was Melissa, but I knew like 4 or 5 Melissas at that school. So like I said, because I knew everybody, and so I was like, "Oh, do you mean this Melissa?" And I used to call that girl. I used to call her Froggy Eyes, and the reason why is because everybody was always telling her that she has eyes of a frog, and that sounds a little bit mean. But everybody was using that at the time, and you're a teenager, so if you understand what teenagers do, you understand that teenagers do that stuff. Okay, you give people names or you shout them out in a certain way. So that for me, that was to process who was who. So I said, "Oh, you mean Froggy Eyes? No, it's not her. Oh, who else do you mean?" And I was like, "Oh, do you maybe mean Little Dwarf?" And that was the girl. And I still have a class photo of me at that photo and with that girl, because we were in the same class. Till this day, I still feel bad about that I said that, because what I did is I told this girl, I told her, sorry, but I'm not interested whatsoever, because sorry, I just don't care. I just don't believe it. I don't think that's true. I think you're just fooling around. I think you're just joking with me. And then I locked the closet and like the locker thing, and I went away. Until this day, I still feel bad about that, because I don't know how true that was. Were they just screwing around, or like was she just screwing around? Because maybe I messed up that girl's day, you know. And that was never my intention, because like I said, I wasn't all there. Like my whole mind was just focused on myself and my anger and my feelings and stuff like that. I wasn't focused on somebody else after I found out that the other girl didn't like me. So I was really, maybe I was selfish. Maybe I was selfish at the time. But at the same time, I was also like, I just don't care, because I don't believe it. I think you're just screwing around with me, because everybody that I liked never liked me back. And I had so many things on my mind with my father, with my mother, with my sister, people that I knew that passed away, and that stuff, right? So I was really focused on that, and not on anything else except me. So after that happened, I eventually didn't went after girls anymore for a long time. And then I had arguments with my mother, and I eventually started living with my sister. My sister had her own house because there's 7 years between us. There's 7 years between me and my sister. She's a lot older than I am, like I said, 7 years apart. And I started living with my sister in a village. And oh boy, that's when it went. That's when it went crazy. And I never really understood why. That's when the most of my relationship started. It started when there were like 5 girls that liked me in the same neighborhood, and I had a relationship with 3 of them, because 2 others I never gave the chance. And one girl I had a relationship with was when I can't remember which one is first. It's been a while. I was 16. Because I also went on vacation and had like girls at vacation time, but I don't really see that as relationships. Because there was one girl, her name was Sanne. That was her name. That was at vacation. That was in Turkey. And we were both 16. Oh yeah, I remember this. I had a it was really funny. She had a brother, a little brother. It was a lot smaller than her, and I was sitting in the pool with her, right? We were like hugging with each other in the pool, and eventually I climbed out and I sat at this plastic chair. And when I sat there, the little brother was sitting right in front of me, and he was sitting like this, like right in front of me. And so I sat there and I was like, "What's up? What's wrong?" And then all of a sudden he says to me, "I can understand why my sister likes you so much, because you are very handsome." And I was like, "What the fuck? What's this?" And it was so weird. And it's a compliment, but it's also weird because a little kid says that to you. It's so weird. I will never forget that. And unfortunately, I never asked that girl's, right, Sanne, I never asked her her phone number, because the moment I went away from Turkey, I was sitting in a bus and I just totally forgot, and I never asked her phone number because I wanted to talk to, because I really liked her, and I couldn't talk to her anymore, and I never seen her again. I that's it. That was the last time I've ever seen her. I had no contact whatsoever. Never spoken to her ever again, and that was something that I'm gonna be honest with you. I was mad at myself. I kind of had tears in my eyes in the bus because I was so mad at myself. Like, how can you be so stupid to forget such a thing? And yeah, I've never seen her again. And then after that, like I said, when I lived with my sister, because me and my sister and her and the rest of the family, we went to vacation at the time when I was 16 to Turkey. So that's how I met this girl. And there were other girls I've met too, but this one was the most important because the other girls I've met were girls from Ukraine. I kind of flirted with girls from Ukraine as well. And I didn't have any, I didn't do anything with them. But I could have, but I didn't do it. And that can be a part of another video, I would say. Why I didn't do that. Not because they're Ukrainian, like because they're from Ukraine, anything like that. Because 2 of them. Man, stop. Anyway, so eventually, so what happened was I met this one girl. I'll won't do this part in chronological order because I can't remember, to be honest. And so I met this girl, and she was being bullied by people in the neighborhood, in the village. They were saying that she was doing weird stuff with food. That's what they were saying about her. It was really, really weird stories, and I didn't believe any of it. I was like, that's not true. That's absolutely not true. And it wasn't true. It wasn't true that she was doing weird stuff and whatever. But they were just bullying her because she was a little fat. And so I met her while I knew all the other girls, and I started dating her because I wanted to give her a chance. Because I was like, I don't care if people say these stuff about you. I still want to try it out. That's how I thought about it. And so I did. And And that was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. I never kissed this girl ever. I had like a year relationship or something. Never had a kiss of her. Not a single one. We didn't even do anything beyond that. Not even hugging. Nothing. That's why it was such a stupid relationship. And but I had a better relationship with her mother and her father, but especially her mother, than with this girl. And I remember one time. That's when it ended. I was at home, right, and it was about 8 a.m. in the morning, and I had a free day that day because I used to go to school and work at the same time. So I had a free off that day, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go and visit her because she lived very far away from me because I was back then living with my sister, but sometimes I also went back here in my own house, like at my mother's house where I grew up in, and I went back and forth. So I was here and I was like, you know what? I'm going to travel all the way to the village and sit at her home, and then wait for her to come from school back to surprise her. Because like I said, we had a long distance relationship because of it. And so I prepared everything. I did everything. I went to her house, and I was there, and I had like a 5-6 hour conversation with her mother, and because her mother really liked me. And because like I never had problems with anybody's parents when I met them. Never had any problems. And so why, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm just myself or something. I don't know. So I spoken to her, right, to her mother, and then at about 2 p.m. So I went from 8 a.m. and I sat there to like 2 p.m. the whole day. And eventually at 3 p.m. she came home. And she came home. She looked and she didn't even look at me. Not even once. I told her, hello. Rachel, like, hey, look who's here, is what her mother said. And I was like, hey. She didn't even look me in the eyes. She didn't even say hello. The only thing she said was, leave me alone, I have a headache. And she walked upstairs. And her mother was like, what's this? What the hell? Why are you doing so weird against him? What the hell did he do? Or why? What's going on? She didn't say a word. Nothing. I was just space. Empty space. And that was like the last part when I was like, okay, I'm done with this girl. And then after that we had an argument with one another. Like not an actual argument, but it was more from my side. Like I was just sick of it. I was just sick of the way how it went. Because she had girlfriends, she had friends that liked me more. She had like friends that I could have done stuff with if I wanted to. And I never did it because I had a relationship. So why would I do that? Why would I do such a thing? Why would I cheat on her or do stuff like that? That's not who I am. I could have, but I didn't. And so eventually, like I'm too... I get guilty. If I would do such a thing, I get too guilty in my head. I get crazy. It starts thinking, and I think I'm an asshole. I can't do it. Okay? It just makes me feel awful. I just can't do it. So, eventually, I went away from her, and I remember her mother was like, "I'm sorry, and I'm sorry that it went this way. You're a good guy. Blah blah, this and that." And I told her before I left, I told her in the face, you know what? I just think your daughter is a hoe, and I just left. That's the last thing I said, just out of frustration. And when I went home, technically my sister's house was also my house, was also my home. When I went home, I had tears in my eyes, but not because of love. I had tears in my eyes because I was frustrated. I was like, I did so much stuff to make this work, and then I get thrown off like that, like I'm nothing. And you understand, right? I already had this bad headspace, okay? So that wasn't really helping. So I had that issue. So that happened. And then I remember there was another girl, and she worked at a bakery. And her father was very popular in the neighborhood. So I'm not going to say her name. And eventually, when I met her, I'm actually skipping a couple of stories. I skipped a few. I'll do that one first. Before I went to the village, I actually dated a girl from online. I was talking to her back then at MSN, which is an old messenger app from a long time. It wasn't even an app. It was software, but back we all call it app nowadays. And I met this girl. This is a cool story. This is a fun story as well. I met this girl, and she lived in a very rich area in the Netherlands. She was very rich. And I didn't know that at the time when I talked to her. So I met her on a site, and maybe you guys have ever heard of this site. It's called Gaia Online. And it's one of the reasons why I'm called Gaia Legend on my other channel, because of that. It's one of the reasons why I still use that name. And because I have another channel as well where I do Legend of Zelda content, but that's not something that I want to put that aside from this channel. This is my personal channel, so that's why my real name is used and stuff like that. So eventually I went to visit her. At the time my mother brought me to that girl, because it was like a half an hour drive or something like that, I would say, maybe less. I don't know, but I couldn't get there with the bus or anything like that. So the only way for me to get there was that way. And I met this girl, and it was nice. It was okay. That day, I met her parents at the same day that I met her. At the same day. Here comes the issue. She had a friend, and that friend, oh god, she was cute, man. Holy crap. And she had like these big green eyes. I will never forget her. If she's still around, and she doesn't have kids and anything like that, I would try something out, if you know what I mean, if she's still single. But yeah, but anyway, so I really liked her too, but that's not how you think when you found somebody else, okay? In the back of your mind, you're like, oh, I like them both. But you're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to pick one of the two. Okay? That's not how you should do stuff. And so I remember that that this girl that I was after, right? Because we were both 16, and I found her on Gaia Online. When I went to her parents, I sat in the living room. I remember very well. And all of a sudden, the mother shows up, and her mother said something like, oh yeah, I just sold another painting today, and this painting cost about €500,000. So I think it's time to buy a new house, because our house again is getting too small. And I sat there and I was like, what? Because I am from an area where we are not rich, okay? I'm from an area where there's people from all walks of life living here, but not rich people, okay? So it's for me, that was just a completely different world. And I don't really care about money so much. To be fair, I don't really care so much about it. I mean, you need it, but that's pretty much it. So I was just amazed. I was like, what the hell's going on? And then I remember just like meeting her brothers. They were like, the brothers were like this tall. I had to look at them like that and whatever. But then when we eventually left, when I left from her house and whatever, and I went home and blah 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 blah, that girlfriend, that friend of hers, started talking to me as well, because I had both their accounts, like both their messengers, and so I started talking to both of them. But the other one I just spoke normal to, and the other one was more interesting, of course, simply because that was my girlfriend. And then this was really weird. I met that girl one time again, and then after that, that friend started to act up a little bit weird. She started telling me that my girlfriend was telling her that she could use me as a dog. She could put me on a leash as a dog, and because I would do anything she would say. And I was like, oh, is that true? And she was like, yeah, that's what she told me. That's what she told me. That's how she thinks about you. I was like, oh, okay. So I started talking to my girlfriend at that time, and I was like, so is that true? What you're just saying, is that really true? And she was like, yeah, I said this and I said that, and the partially of that is true, and blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, okay, so if you think if I'm a dog, well, guess what, then our relationship is over now, because I'm not a dog, and I don't accept this stuff. Like, it's just not my thing, sorry. So, and then I broke up with her. Now it turned out that this girl with the green eyes I was talking about before, she did that on purpose, because she liked me as well. Yeah. She liked me as well, and she was basically trying to break the relationship so she could be with me. That's what she tried to do. And then, but I didn't know that at the time. I found it out some time later, because she told me. Like, she actually told me that she liked me as well and this and that. And I was like, now I know exactly what's going on. Because then the puzzle pieces fell into one complete picture, if that makes sense. So that happened to me that day, after those days. And eventually that I asked that girl, like, do you have a boyfriend and whatever? And she was like, yeah, I have a boyfriend, blah, 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 this and that. And I was like, fuck, man, shit. Because I didn't, that was so bad for me. Like, I didn't like that at all. It was like, the other one broke up. I will never see that one again. And now I got you. And now you get a boyfriend. And I always wondered if that was true. I always wondered about that, if that was true or not. Because I was like, maybe you're just doing this because you like screwing around with people or something. I don't know. So eventually so that happened. And now I'll go back to the other story with the bakery, because it was all the way before. The girl that was 16, the one that I met at Gaia Online, that was like my very first deep relationship, I would say. So then I found that girl with the bakery, right? But I didn't like that girl at all. I didn't start a relationship with her or whatever. But I went crazy for this girl, man, because she followed me everywhere. Everywhere where I went, she was there too. And sometimes it was a coincidence that she was there. It was crazy how that went. Hold on, I need to drink something. I've been talking for a whole time. Sorry for that. But yeah, it was so weird. Like, it was like a coincidence, right? That she kept following me and whatever. I never really liked this girl. And then, but one time, she managed to get my messenger as well at the time. And all of a sudden, I was just talking to her, just in a very normal manner. And then all of it, like on the internet, right? Was just talking to her normally. And then all of a sudden, she wanted to do things on the camera. And I didn't know what was going on. I was like, what the hell is this? And she tried to go really far. But I couldn't take it. I was like, no, don't do this, man. Like, why would you do such a thing? And I quickly stopped it eventually, because it felt like I was using this girl, you know? It really felt that way. So eventually I was like, no, don't do this. It was like one conversation that this happened, that she wanted to like undress herself or whatever and do stuff with herself. And I was like, no, don't do this, man. I'm not into this stuff. I don't want this. So I quickly ended the conversation, and I was like, I need to get the hell out of here. What the hell is this? Because like I said, I was like 16, 17, and so was she. So and I didn't like this at all. That's what she did. And I never really told anybody, because I didn't really think it was really all that important. It was just a thing that happened, and I was like, I don't really, I don't want this, you know. It feels wrong. I don't want this. So eventually, I quickly like did try to disconnect myself from that girl, because I just didn't like where that was going. Because like I said, I didn't like her, and I didn't feel anything for her. And I wasn't interested in the things that she was doing or trying to do, because I felt she was trying to manipulate me. I felt she was trying to do that stuff in the hope that I might have tried to like her. But that's always the feeling that I had from that. So I was like, no, I don't want to do this. So that happened. And yeah, I think this girl always liked me, I think. Because like I said, she was always stalking me and stuff like that. So that happened. And then I met this one girl that girl changed my life. That girl was like somebody that I still think about till this day, to be honest. She I was 18, she was 17, and well, she was 16 turning 17 that year. And that girl was that one broke my heart. That one screwed with my head, like really, really badly. That was the one that I went crazy. Because I'm not sure if I already told you this in my last video, but I had suicidal thoughts when I was 16, and I almost killed myself at that time. It was really, really bad. Basically, I stood in front of the train tracks, and I wanted to jump in front of it, but no train came that day, because there were no trains riding that day, and I didn't know that. But if so, that might have saved me, because otherwise I would have jumped right in front of it. So that was when I was 16, and so during these times, when I met this girl, I had a purpose in life. I felt like everything was going to be fine, and she was really important to me. And I had a relationship with her. That was also my longest relationship, for 2 years. But this girl was really important to me. I tried everything to make the relationship work, but she had such weird thoughts. For example, she found it okay to cheat on somebody. She found it okay. So one time I was just laying next to her in bed, right? And she had like these she was talking to somebody that she met at school, some guy, and she started sending hearts to him on the phone and stuff like that. And I'm not really that of much of a jealous guy. I'm not at all. I'm actually kind of happy if somebody likes my girlfriend because she looks really nice. I'm kind of proud of it. I'm not jealous of it at all. I'm like, oh, see, people like you, so that's good. It's a good thing. I don't see that as a bad thing. So eventually that was something that was really awful for me, because I went through a very dark time before that, and when I met her, I felt like life was going to get better. And like I said, she was somebody that really broke me. That I did everything for that girl. I would have done everything for that girl. It's crazy how that went. And so I eventually, when we broke up, I was heartbroken. Took me 2 years to get rid of it, to that feeling, to push it aside. But till this day, I can't forget her. Till this day, I still have her love letters. I still have. I bought a necklace for her one time. It was 500 euros at the time, and I still have it. I still carry it with me every day, because of not necessarily because of her, but because of the memories. Yeah, because of the memories. That was why. And I can't forget her. I just can't. And so after that, I had relationships as well, but she always stuck with me for some reason. And like I said, when I had these 2 years issues going on with myself, I found another girlfriend, but that was a friend of my sister. But that she really liked me, that girlfriend. But I was so blinded, and my head was so focused on that other girl that I liked so much, that I didn't give her a chance. I just couldn't. This girl really liked me. It was crazy but I just didn't care. I was so focused on the other one. I was so heartbroken, and so how do I say this? Like it was like my soul was taken away. That's how it felt like. I don't know how to explain it. And that sounds really deep maybe to you guys, but that's just how it was. And so when I felt that way, I thought like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I still here? In that sense. And that was like the feelings I had every single day for like 2 years, till I finally got over it. But it took me so long, because like I said, this girl changed me. Like she gave me a purpose in life, because before that I really felt like I was nothing. I felt like I didn't belong in this world. That's maybe where my Red Bull addiction came from as well back then, because I've told you guys before in the last video, I used to drink like 9 cans a day. And so I eventually I got over it, right? Because yeah, sure, I still think about her, but not in that way. I think more about the memories and stuff like that than her, if that makes sense. But that was something that I had really troubles with. I really hated myself. I wanted to kill myself for a long time, actually. That's how I felt, right? That was the feeling. But when I was 16 and I didn't met this girl yet, that's when that was like the worst times of my life, I would say. So eventually, when I met this new girl after the one that broke my heart, I just just couldn't give anybody a chance for 2 years. It was really bad. And there were so many girls that liked me during that time. So many. But I just didn't care. I just didn't care at all. Because the only thing I had in my head was me. Right? I was only thinking about myself. So eventually I finally got rid of that feeling. And then I found out dating apps. And dating apps suck. They really do. But there was one dating app that I had quite a success with, I would say. And I'm going to make a video about dating apps. Because 10 years ago, dating apps were okay, but nowadays they're not. Nowadays it's just shitty. Nowadays it's just crap. And I'll talk about that in another video. Because, yeah, they're not cool anymore. Back then they were useful, not anymore. So anyway, I met this one girl, and her name was Sanne as well. Actually, like I said, I never really talk much about them, but you could say I had a one night stand back then. I spoke to her in for 2 weeks, and then I already met her. Because her parents, I was 23, and she was 21, and then I basically I just saw her. I went to her house because her parents were gone, because she was still living with her parents. She had quite a big house too, and lots of I guess lots of money as well, I guess. And but you know me, I don't care about that. And and that was a lousy night, I gotta say. Because she was making me crazy. She was keep telling me things. Oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And I'm like, okay, fine by me. I'm a guy, I like it. Why not? And then when the moment was there, she didn't want to do anything. And I was like, wow, well, that sucks. So that same night, the next morning, I left that house. I came back home. And I talked to her again on the dating app. Or at least... she blocked me. She blocked me on the dating app. But here's the weird thing. Eventually I got approached by a new girl. It was a new name. Can't remember what the name was of that girl anymore. But it was a girl, right? And she had no picture of herself. It was like one of these fake avatar things where you can see like a little character, gray character thing or whatever. When somebody doesn't have an avatar or a profile picture or something. And... all of a sudden she was like, hey Jeff, how you doing? Blah blah, this and that. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm good, and you? Because yeah, I was trying to find somebody new, right? And like I said, it was basically the same day. And all of a sudden this girl started talking. Oh yeah, by the way, there's a girl that that is giving a party right now and wants to see you again. And I was like, so it's you. You're trying to screw up with my head. You basically told me that you wanted me to leave from your house, and I did. I went home, and now you blocked me from the thing, right? You blocked me from, and now you're gonna pretend that you're somebody else, and now you want me to go back? That's not who I am. I'm not a yo-yo. That's not how it worked with me. So I told her basically told her to fuck off. That's what I did. I was like, sorry, I just don't care. You wanted me to leave, and I know it's you. It's gotta be you, because it's not a coincidence that, but because she said a girl that knows you and she lives in the exact same area that she lives in, and I was like, that has to be her. There's no way. It can't be anybody else. So I told her no, and that's the last time I saw that girl. It's the last time. And then there was one girl that I met when I was 25, and that was my last girl that I had a relationship with for like a year. It's the last one. Maybe not even a year, maybe like a half a year or something. That was like the last one. She was really cute. I remember my family members when they saw her, they all said the same thing. So she was with me, then she left for a toilet break or something like that, and they're all like, how did you do this? And I was like, How did I do what? How did you get a girl beautiful like that? How did you do it? And I was like, I don't know. Just being myself, I guess. What are you talking about? Because, like I said, she was really cute. Like, she was really beautiful, I gotta say. And we broke up in a really, really dumb way. Really stupid. And I still don't know what I did wrong. Still don't know. Till this day. And that was, we had a conversation on the internet as well. Because we had a long distance relationship. And I saw her once in a while. It went back and forth. And all of a sudden, she said, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't want to know you anymore. And I was like, what's going on? What did I do? No, I just don't want to talk to you anymore. Bye. And she blocked me from everything. From every social media platform that exists. Until this day, I have no idea what I've done wrong. No idea. It just poof from the phone. I don't want you anymore. Poof, gone. I have no idea what I did wrong. And sure, I could go over there. But here's the thing. If I do that here in the Netherlands, if a guy does something, then he's in trouble. If a woman does it, it's usually like always a stupid excuse why they can do the things that they do. But when a man does it, they can always get problems. And I don't want that. Right? I don't want to get problems because for a girl, I just don't want to do it. You know? That's unless you really, really love her, of course. And I did like her. But this went so weird. I was like, your love has never been all that deep for me. Your love was not deep. Otherwise, you don't do this. You don't do this. Oh, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Poof. That's not how you, act. That's not something how you have. If you have a relationship with somebody, that's not how you do, right? And so I wasn't really. I also wasn't really sad. I was also not frustrated. I was just confused. Like, what the hell did I do? So, and yeah, that was really weird. And that was my last relationship that I had, and I was 25, and now I'm 36. So, that was the last relationship that I had. Am I still open for it? Of course. Am I looking for it? Well, yeah, I am, but not as much as I used to. Back then, I was just. Yeah, I was pretty bad. But the thing is that the reason why I wanted to make this video and start talking about relationships as well is that this is really it really made me feel bad, you know. So this is what I want to talk about at the beginning of the video. So when this last year, at New Year's Eve. I was standing with my mother and my stepfather outside, just watching the fireworks. And there was a girl that was standing a little bit close to me. And then all of a sudden, there was a whole group of students, because my neighbors are students. So eventually, there was like an explosion or something. Like they put like something on the ground, and it fell a little bit, and it flew their way, and it was like an explosion, but it wasn't really hard or something. But it was a little bit of a shock for the people standing there, but it wasn't really that big of a deal. But they started running towards me. Some of these girls were running towards me and stuff like that. So my instinct was immediately go there and check if anything was okay. So I went there, and I started talking to one of these girls. And she was really cute, man. Like, goddamn. And so I started talking to her. And have you guys ever had when you start talking to a girl and it's like when you just immediately fall for her, like immediately as a block, you immediately fall for her? That's what I had. So I started talking to her, and I think she was interested into me as well, because she was like laughing continuously, looking to my eyes and stuff like that in a flirty way. So I was like, yeah, maybe finally. But I told you, they're students. So eventually I was walking all the way to this part of the street, and she went with me. So we stood next to each other. We were watching a fire because my friend that I know for a very long time, I know their family for a long time. They made a fire, which is not allowed, and you're not allowed to do this. But he made a fire, and he just threw a closet on it and wood on it and all kinds of shit. He just threw it on it, and so there was like a giant fire right in the middle here of the road. And we were watching it together, and so we were standing there, and two guys show up, and they started to flirt with her too. And I was like, okay, it's fine. I mean, yeah, it's fine. But all of a sudden, we started talking to each other, the guys and me. We started talking to each other, and so the guy, he asked me, by the way, do you know how old are you guys? Oh no, he first said, you two look nice together. Are you a couple? So I looked at her, and I was like, I wish. In my head, that was like, I wish. But I was like, no. I just met her. I just talked to her. I just met her. She's my neighbor. I just met her. And all of a sudden, the guys starts talking about age. And so I eventually I just started saying like to him. I told him like, how old do you think that I am? So he starts like, right? He starts like doing that, and I say, yeah, well, I'm 36, and because he also said at the same time, he said like, I think you're 36, and I was like, yeah, that's what I am. I was like, what, really? But the moment that he said that, the girl got a little bit spooked, because she was like, what the hell, you're 36? And I was like, yeah, I am. She was 19. And I was like, fucking hell, man. Why? I'm always so unlucky, man, when that happens. I was like, no, why me? Why? Like, god damn it. I'm so unlucky with this stuff. So when she heard that I was 36, she immediately ran away. She immediately went to another group of people that were standing there. And that's the last time I saw her. And I feel really bad about it. I really do. Because, I liked her. And, but she's too young. And that's just shitty, man. Like, I think she's like turning 20 this year or whatever. And that really bothers me. Like, because that's the thing. Like, I look really young. And I get it that sometimes I get like, young, women after me, I would say. Happens quite often, but this is the first time when I felt really bad about it, because it like realism hit me in the face. Like it really hit me in the face, because I realized like, dude, you're 36, you can't do that stuff anymore, and it sucks. It really sucks, really bad. Because I wish it was different, but it isn't, man. And like I said, so at the same time, I kind of want to get my beard back and make it just fully grow again, like I have. Like I have a picture of me that I have like a beard this big, and I look like a damn Viking or a damn character from a TV show when I have that, because that's the thing, is that and then because that way I look way older if I have it, and then I can just scare people away, I guess. Because it's just I hate it. I hate it so much. And so a couple of days ago, I really felt bad about it. Like I couldn't stop thinking about anything else. Just went right. Just really felt bad about it. Because if I would have known that, I wouldn't have spoken to her at all. But then you talk to her, and then just kabam, right? It just kicks you in the nuts. The feeling. I couldn't stop looking at her, man. It's crazy. That's why I don't want to see her anymore, because of it. And it sucks. It's just so bad, man. Really, really sucks ass. So yeah, that's how I'm feeling about it right now. So yeah, this is the video about my past relationships that I had, and tell me what you went through. I also, oh, by the way, I also had a stalker. One time, I didn't even say that. I had a stalker after me as well when I was 22, 23, when I went when I was a student myself. And I went to, to school as a student, medical school. And, which I also dropped out of. And I had a stalker after me. That girl was crazy. I'll tell this story and then I'll end the video. I was one time, I was sitting in a bus, and two of my friends were sitting in front of me. It was a girl and a guy, and they had a relationship together, but that was because of me. I managed to get those two together. It was my fault that I got them together. And so they were my friends, and they were in my class at that time as well. And so we were always sitting next to each other and stuff like that. And I was sitting in the bus. And so I sit to the left at the window, and there's like this, there was one chair that was empty, and this girl, that stalker, she ran into the bus and sits next to me, like all against me like this as well. And I already told her a couple of times I wasn't interested into her. I already told her a few times, but she kept going. She just kept going. She didn't stop. And so she sits all against me like that. And I was like, at the other side of the window, I was like, right, I didn't like it. And then, so the bus starts driving. And there's like one area where the bus stops, right? Like a bus stop. So it stops there, the door opens, and a very beautiful girl walks in. Very long blonde hair, really good looking. She walked past us, and I look at her like that. I look at her with a smile, and she looks back with a smile. So I was like, oh, nice. And but I looked to me to the right. I looked to me to the right like this. And she and that stalker girl was like looking at me like this. Was like looking at me like that. And all of a sudden she stood up. She stood up from the chair, and she says, she started screaming, and she started saying real loud, "The only thing you care about are blonde girls and sex." That's what she just started screaming, like real loud. She said that. And then when the door opened again of the bus, she just ran out. She just ran out of the bus. So all the people in the bus were like looking at me like this. But as if I had done something wrong. But first of all, I didn't even have a relationship with this girl. And second, I told her so many times I'm not interested in her, and she kept coming to me, man. And so sure, it is fun. It is fun to. I'm gonna tell you something, okay? That is true. As a guy, experiencing stuff like that boosts your ego. It does. It boosts your ego. It makes you feel better about yourself. It really does, okay? And I'm not gonna lie about that. But here's the thing: it was the wrong girl. I didn't like her, and so and I could have used her because I'm gonna be honest with you. I could have used her if I was an asshole, okay? Because one time I was because she was really naive as well. I was standing in the toilet at school. It was like a school toilet, right? And I was going inside the toilet and I was just taking a piss. And all of a sudden she stood right behind me. She did. She was just standing behind me. And and all of a sudden she says, "What are you gonna do now, huh? Because now I'm here with you, huh?" She said that. And I guess she wanted to do some stuff, if you know what I mean. I won't go there, but you know what I mean. And I left. I did. Because I just was not interested into her. I thought she was, I'm gonna be honest with you, I thought she was ugly. I was just not interested. And I can't do it. I when I don't feel anything, when I think somebody is ugly and I have no feelings for it whatsoever, I can't do it. Even if you give me Red Bull, I still can't do it. I just can't. So yeah, okay. So I'm gonna end the video here. So thank you all for watching the video. What do you think about all of this that I just told you? And I just had to get this off my chest as well. It makes me actually feel a lot better, to be honest. So anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. So Bye bye.